Joining us now to review some of the headlines of today's newspapers from around the world is Arise News analyst Emmanuel Efeni, the great Malabat.
Good morning, Ruben.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning, Mr. Efeni.
Good morning, Rufai.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, we'll start the review with this day, Nigeria's newspaper of record. We'll start with the lead story. Tinubu, Labour's first strike in 9 months of my government, unacceptable, flares unions' disruptive tendencies, says it's not Nigeria's only voice, inaugurates Lagos red lines, states democracy measured by people-oriented outcomes. We are connecting the dots of Lagos, Sanwo-Olu boasts. Yesterday, the president commissioned the red line, 37-kilometer rail line from Alagbado to Onyigbo in the first instance. Yes, the modernization of the Lagos transport system being done over the last 20-plus years by successive administration. 5 BRT corridors created, marine transportation given a boost. You only need to use one of those beautiful jetties by the Lagos state government, and you will love to travel by boat. And of course, the rail line first, the blue line, part of the blue line commission from Mile 2 to Marina. Now, Sanwo-Olu government has added the red line. So we can conveniently say that there is a real modernization of the Lagos transport system, connecting from one form of transportation to another. Yes, it's not too late, rather late than never. Rufai, you refer to what LKJ, aka Baba Kekere, Lateef Jakonde, who did so much in 4 years, October 1979 to December 83, when the military junta, led by Muhammadu Buhari, Major General, disrupted our democracy. And the military boys took us on a ride from Buhari to Babangida to Abacha, the dark goggle general. Of course, they brought this nation backwards. Otherwise, our democracy would have gone very far by now. But remember, one of the high points of the LKJ, Lateef Jakonde government, was the concrete plan to construct an underground rail system in Lagos. Road mapped, buildings being demolished on the paths, contract awarded to a French firm, and of course the military boys came, not knowing what progress was all about. They cancelled that contract. Of course, the firm sued the Nigerian government, and the Nigerian government paid heavily. But the Tinubu administration laid the foundation, a clear blueprint, which successive administration had been following, from Tinubu to Babatunde Fashola to Ambode and to Sanwo-Olu. So one thing you can say of the Tinubu's political dynasty in Lagos is that they have a blueprint they've been following, and the results are showing in the fullness of time. You cannot say the same of some political dynasties in some other states. But that's kudos to Tinubu and his political dynasty. But expectedly, the president's speech yesterday, not his written speech, because we covered this live yesterday, he took time to veer off his script, to throw what looked like a broadside at Labour. And the comments that have followed, the observations, and other newspapers, obviously using that comment as their lead. The Daily Sun newspaper, Tinubu angry with Labour, says calling for strikes in 9 months. That's the Daily Sun newspaper. In 9 months, unacceptable, vows to continue with reforms, fight corruption, commissions red lines in Lagos. The Daily Independent newspaper also has that story. Protest strikes 9 months into new government, unacceptable, Tinubu. And the Nation newspaper also has that story as its lead. Tinubu, Labour's constant strike calls unacceptable. But we are all part of this country. Even before Labour's protests, two-day protest, which was cut short to one because of threats to labor leaders. There were protests around the country, in Edo, in Kano, in Oyo, in Kwara, even in Lagos. The people spontaneously came out to say, look, we are hungry. So it's not as if labor has done something unusual. However, the president must be reminded that protest is part of the democratic culture, which he and others utilized in 2012 when they shut down the economy, protesting coincidentally or paradoxically against the removal of fuel subsidy. So I don't think that call by the president taking that broadside on labor, perhaps it could have been avoided. It was an opportunity for the president to restate his empathy for Nigerians who are feeling the pains, the pangs of his policy. Yes, we want to agree with him, we pray for him, that these policies should eventually turn the situation around for good. Because when the country is good, everybody will enjoy it. Whether you voted for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu or not, he's the president of all. We expect him to do the job so that Nigerians can be comfortable. Now, the Nation newspaper above the masthead, there's a story there. It's time to protect yourselves with spiritual powers, Oni tells Obas. Well, in recent times, monarchs, traditional rulers have been kidnapped, in some cases sadly killed by kidnappers. Well, I'm not a specialist in metaphysics, though I studied philosophy. My area of specialization is different. Well, maybe a cultural intellectual like Ruben will decode and interpret the spiritual means the Oni is talking about. I move over to the leadership newspaper, Ruben. You know, you're a culture icon, you're a cultural intellectual, so I'm looking forward to how you interpret that. Now, of course, the leadership newspaper will just look at one story there. New constitution will be ready in 2025. House of Reps is making that. While the other story there, Senate must reduction of ways and means repayment window. Well, the Senate is amending the CBN Act, and we just hope they will not do overkill, because you don't use the emotion of the moment to make laws. But it seems that's what is happening now. And I hope at the public hearing of the amendment of the CBN Act, those who know should make their voice heard, so that we don't overkill in the name of amendment of the CBN Act. The Nigerian Tribune newspaper, well, the lead story there, stop taking the nation for a ride, Soyinka cautions leaders, says decentralization is central to incomplete mission of nation building. Now, the same story, if we look at the Punch newspaper, past confabs deceitful. Nigeria must decentralize, says Soyinka. I thought watching Prof. Soyinka, Nobel laureate, was talking about is the restructuring. But it's like...
He didn't use the word.
Yes, no, I know what I'm saying. It's like a restructuring. It's an hackneyed phrase. People just mouth without taking action. So if Prof is giving us a new nomenclature for the same subject, decentralization perhaps is the same matter we're talking about. That this federalism, we need to make it work. And we must not stick with what we have now. After all, the founding fathers of this country, at independence, we had proper federalism. We know how we found our way into this federalism that looks like unitary government, where everybody goes to Abuja and gets, with a cap in hand, to get monthly allocation. So can we just sit down and do the right thing? Talking too much about this restructuring, decentralization, call it whatever you want, change of nomenclature, basically, is the way I see it, because it's the same matter is talking. So you just avoided using the word restructuring. Perhaps, of course, if a prof is not giving us a new nomenclature, why is he a prof, a Nobel laureate for that matter? So perhaps we just stick with his new nomenclature. Maybe that will make some people feel easy. because some people have this phobia for the word restructure. Whenever they hear restructure, it's as if something bad wants to happen to the country. And they start resisting, even when there's no need for resistance, Ruben. You know that.
The argument is that they see it as the dissolution
yes,
of
you know.
the country.
So,
and that it doesn't, reconfiguring the country.
Yeah, so
does not necessarily mean, dissolving
so you can understand why Prof is trying to give us a new nomenclature for that, what is actually restructuring. So if some people are uncomfortable with the word restructuring, let's stick with the new nomenclature from Prof, reconfiguring, right?
Yeah.
I think I'll go with that also. Now, the Business Day newspaper, 5 lessons for Nigeria as Indians' wealth surge 5-fold. Yes, according to the World Bank, India's GDP per capita rose by 414.1% to 2,411 in 2022 from $469 in 2022, right? Yes. Now, there are lessons for Nigerians to learn because India and Nigeria were once described as the poverty capital of the world. But if you know the number of persons India has moved out of poverty, and it's good that Business Day is highlighting the key lessons Nigerians have. Over 400 million people moved out of poverty, whereas in our own case, over 100 million people have gone into multidimensional poverty in the last few years. And what did India do right? Here are the 5 lessons according to the Business Day newspaper: education and skills, stable economic growth, and, of course, targeted reforms. Yes, Indians' per capita income is likely to grow by nearly 70% to $4,000 by the year 2030 from $2,450 in the fiscal year 2022. And, of course, self-reliance on its manufacturing products. India, they use Tata Bus,
Tata, Mahindra,
Jeep. All of Rufai, I can tell you about Mahindra.
Yeah.
We once bought Mahindra Jeep for our editors, some of our editors. Although people like us were using Audi then. Right? Yeah. Poor engineering. But they sent it to, they were using it, they sent it to us. And it was in our market. And you know what they did? After the first set that came to Nigeria, they took some of the complaints. The gear not good, can get spoiled within 1 year or less. They reformed, they re-engineered, and the next set of Mahindra, they were good. Tata Bus, that's what Indians use to convey people. Yeah. Now, I tell you this, if you had the opportunity, I wouldn't say privilege, to enter or travel in a brand new Molue bus in those days, brand new, always very comfortable, but they easily get. But there was an industry producing those buses in Nigeria. How come we couldn't develop it, modernize it? The truck heads were produced in Nigeria. Leyland, from Step Motors. Anamco producing Mercedes-Benz heads, right? And all that gone. Now even our cars we don't use. Remember when Pan in Kaduna was producing Pojo? It was a status car because the president, the leaders were using it.
Yes. President Tinubu, when he became governor in Lagos, drove Pojo.
Yes. No, Rufai, let me even tell you the story of Pojo. My first official car was a Pojo 2000.
You see?
Sharp. A banker once entered, I picked him from the airport.
And that Pojo was a grade A Tokumbo, right?
No, brand new. Okay. This day of
no, I just wanted to.
My official car.
Oh, okay.
Brand new Pojo.
That was best line,
2000.
Right? Best line. Is it best line?
I don't know what's best line. It's a Pojo product. And for your information, Ruben, at this day we don't do Tokumbo because I moved from brand new Pojo to brand new Polo, Volkswagen Polo. From brand new Volkswagen Polo to brand new.
You have settled the matter.
No.
I thought maybe you bought it yourself.
I said official. You did not hear that because you were trying to speak as if this day will do Tokumbo. We don't do that.
Don't do Tokumbo.
Right? Brand new Audi A4 to brand new Kia Mojave. the top of the care range, and that's how we roll.
Yes, carefully.
Currently, have they upgraded? Brand new was current. I hope it's innocent.
No, well, I think that's where I'm going to.
Yeah.
That's where I'm going to, right? If the president of the country, government officials, use any of the brands produced in Nigeria, Innocent or Nord Motors, I'm telling you, every top official will want to use that as a status symbol. I'm using the car the president is using, right? And the messaging should come from that level.
The way Shagari popularized the Benz, Shagari Benz.
No, hold on.
Yeah.
You know who popularized, at least for the purpose of this discussion, let's mention the name. Chivita. You know who popularized it? Who gave it the endorsement? President Olusegun Obasanjo.
Yeah.
Before then, Nigerians were drinking. Is it one they call Five Alive?
Yes.
And the people who were marketing that were asked, why don't you produce this in Nigeria? They were saying, oh, I know the company. I don't want to popularize that company. They say, oh, if we produce it here, we don't have enough market. Then one day, President Obasanjo, he just gave what looked like a decree as president that from today, what we'll be drinking in Aso Villa is Chivita, produced in Nigeria. And Chivita became the brand, foremost brand of when it comes to juice. Yes. And they won the Product of the Year award 3 consecutive times at the popular, famous This Day Awards, right? So that is how presidents encourage local production.
Oh, yes.
So if the Tinubu administration have not keyed into that, products that are now being produced in Nigeria, whether they are cars or any other thing, they should encourage. And when people see, they take a cue.
Yes.
Huh? You see, instead of counting the number of Prado jeeps on the president's entourage. Can you imagine if you are counting 1 nod, 2 nod, 3 nod, innocent, 4 innocent?
Yeah.
I'm sure Ruben will want to make his next car an innocent jeep.
And the next official this day comes.
It has to be an innocent. well, don't worry, we'll look at that. So, well, just to emphasize this point that, look, there are lessons to be learned from India. And if we don't learn the right lessons, we'll just continue to be rowing in the wrong direction, right? Now, the Vanguard newspaper, confusion over NIN-BVN link to bank accounts. Yes.
Looks like we're overrunning.
One foreign newspaper, The Guardian of UK, more than 1,000 Palestinians die in chaos surrounding Gaza aid convoy. Israeli military rejects claims it fired on crowd and blames deadly
crash. We're running
crash.
out of time. Thank you very much indeed.